Hey y'all, you're listening to Criminalist Behavior Podcast. We are a podcast that takes you deep into the heart of Louisiana's history, current, most chilling true crime stories. I'm your host, Sarah Soudier, and I'll be guiding you through the darkness of these crimes and all those involved. Each week, we dig deep on those forgotten crimes or those crimes currently happening with the underlying legends that continue to haunt us. So lean in, listen, and get ready, because true crime is anything but ordinary. Stay with me as we unravel what happened in these mysteries. Today we're on number 17, and I want to give a little trigger warning at the very beginning because this episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including descriptions of physical abuse against adults, children, and animals. Listener discretion is advised. So if this is your first time listening, again, hi, my name is Sarah Soudier, and I'm your host for Criminalist Behavior Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the show, and I hope you enjoy it. So, I'm going to just jump right on into this case. Yes, crazy. So, let's start from the beginning. So, we're on Joseph Washington. He is the guy that married the three children's mother. They met and they married in 2014. They lived in a Plum Orchard home that was built by the Habitat for Humanity Foundation. And Ostrecher, a representative from Habitat Humanity, stated that many of them remember working with the family, and they were so full of hope and optimism when the home was under construction. And this is when the mother was expecting her first child, which would be called Joseph. And Ostrecher was part of the team that helped the Washington family build their home and others in the 4900 block of America Street, and this happened in 2016. The program offered a path to homeownership via no-interest loans, a first-time home buyer course, and 350 hours of sweet equity in lieu of a down payment. All the participants on American Street earned 30% to 60% of the median income, and all of that was contributed in an effort to building each other their own home. So, the couple had a total of 3 children. Again, Joseph Washington was 8 at the time of this event. Jayla Washington was age 5, and Avery Washington was at age 3 years old. The older children, Jayla and Joseph, they attended Kit Memorial School. So the couple was married all but 5 years, and this came to a halt when in 2019 a divorce was filed. And inside the divorce filings, the children's mother alleged domestic violence, describing times in which Joseph Washington attacked and beat her. She filed a restraining order against him in 2018 and accused him of threatening to kill her and their children before. So, like I said, they lived in a Habitat for Humanity home, and this home was owned by Joseph Washington. He was convicted of domestic abuse and battery at least twice in 2016. He was married to the children's mother in 2014 and, like I said, divorced in 2019. So the mother describes a history of abusive behavior that was dealt by Joseph Washington. He repeatedly hit, choked, and often attacked her while she was holding the children, allegedly. She filed for a restraining order, and she described an incident in which Joseph Washington tricked her into seeing him and then threatened to kill her and the children, according to the court docs. So, Joseph Washington, which is now the ex-wife and mother of his kids, described how at one incident, she was drugged and strangled by Joseph Washington. This was located in the divorce paperwork. The documents tell a story where Washington pushed her against a wall and choked her. He pushed her down to a couch and choked her again, and she was holding their infant child. Like, what? How senseless can you be? Like, she is holding your child, and you're going to just push her down and choke her. Like, no respect, no remorse, no nothing. So in the details, Joseph Washington drug his ex-wife by the neck, y'all, by her neck to the bedroom, and he was searching for his gun. He said he was going to kill her. The ex-wife tried to escape, but she was drugged back into the room, this time by her hair. When she was finally able to make it outside to safety, she recounts hearing Joseph Washington threaten to set the house on fire, saying he turned the stove on, filled the house with smoke, but help came in time, and Joseph Washington was arrested at that given point. After this incident, Joseph's ex-wife, the mother of all the children, was granted a 2-year protective order against Joseph Washington, and the divorce was finalized in August 2019. Now we're going to get to the incident. And when I say the incident, yes, y'all, this is going to be brutal. So that trigger warning, there is some seriousness that's happening. It was around midnight on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, after police say the mother of the children, who was not home at the time, called 911 to say that her ex-husband, 29-year-old father Joseph Washington, was threatening to burn the house down. And this is what she stated. Open quotations. He's screaming on the phone. I hear the kids screaming. Y'all are just going to have to break through the door. Don't let anything happen, please. Close quotations. The mother was begging the dispatcher for help. She left work and she was on the way to the house after she called them. It took 25 minutes. 25 minutes from the time that the mother called the 911 dispatcher for police to arrive at the scene of a fatal fire. Yes, y'all, he went through with it. The head of 911 says a call was initialized, and it was a call known as Domestic Violence Code 2. And this call normally brings lights and sirens in response, but there was no units cleared to respond. Yeah. No units cleared to respond about a mother frantically calling. This dude has a history of abuse. She has a 2-year protective order against him. Well, by this time, I think that might have gave out because that was in 2019, and this incident happened in 2023. But nonetheless, history of abuse, and he's threatening to set the house on fire. I can't. And it takes 25 minutes before the police arrive at the scene where the 3 children died in a fire on the 4900 block of America Street. According to Carl Fastfold, the chief of the New Orleans Parish Communication Districts, which oversees the 911 program, that's what he stated. He stated it took 25 minutes after that initial 911 call before an officer could be freed and arrive on scene to the house ablazing. So first responders were dispatched to the 4900 block on America Street in the Plum Orchard neighborhood. And this happened shortly after midnight. And they found the home fully engulfed in flames. Police believed he locked his sons and his daughter inside the house after setting it on fire. And then he fled the scene. Firefighters attempted to resuscitate a 5-year-old girl, which at this time we know as Jayla, and 7-year-old boy, upon arrival before they were rushed to a nearby hospital where they were later pronounced dead. The firefighters say that as they continued to battle and prevent the spread of the flames in the house, that they came across a 3-year-old boy laying in the middle of the floor, deceased, and the parish coroner stated that he had to do an autopsy to figure out the original cause of the death, because they were unsure if the cause of death was the actual fire or if there was foul play before the fire. But either way, like, obviously the brutal murder of these beautiful babies, y'all. So full of joy. If you see the picture of them, they were so close, they were happy, always smiling, such beautiful kids. It's so sad that they had to succumb to this. So, investigators determined this incident was the result of apparent domestic dispute. You think? The woman's call screaming frantically about her children. So, there was surveillance video that was obtained from a neighbor's residence, and it showed the flames growing from the rear side of the home. And as the video played, a person can be seen on the video exiting the home before getting into a vehicle and driving away. This was later determined to be Joseph Washington fleeing the scene. So, the timeline of the 911 calls and dispatches for police, fire, and EMS, there was no police unit free to respond to what he called the Domestic Violence Code 2, which he stated normally triggers lights and sirens. So here's the call timeline, y'all, from the 911 director. 11:54 p.m., Tuesday night, the initial call was made by the mother. At 11:55, the dispatcher created an incident and entered all the information stating verbal domestic violence, father on scene, children screaming. At 11:57, more information that children are on the scene ages 3, 5, and 7. Father has threatened to burn the house down. That's 3 minutes, y'all. Stay with me. 11:59, the incident broadcast on police radio to all units with alert tone. No units are cleared to be dispatched. At 11:59 and 56 seconds, NOPD district rank was notified. So now we get to midnight, a little after midnight actually, Wednesday morning, 12:08 a.m. The first call came from a neighbor reporting a fire taking place. At 12:09, the fire department created the incident. They then dispatched them to the scene. 12:11, the second call called reporting a fire. At 12:13, another call reporting a fire saying there's children trapped in the home. At 12:14, the first fire units arrived on scene. So 12:14. Remember, the call started at 11:54 p.m. We had 12:14. At 12:15, first police units cleared and dispatched the scene. 12:16, the fire department requests emergency medical services. At 12:18, emergency medical services were finally dispatched. 12:19, 2 children were pulled from the home. At 12:20, the first police officer arrived on scene. At 12:29, the first emergency medical services arrived on scene. 12:32, emergency medical services reports working code 2. At 12:40, fire department says fire under control. So 11:54 a.m. on that p.m. on that Tuesday night to 12:40 a.m. on that Wednesday morning, that's whenever the fire was finally under control. And at 12:57, emergency medical service was transporting the 2 children to the hospital. This is not a lot of time, but in the time that the mother called, if somebody would have been available, I think this would have been a different outcome. I would hope and pray that this would be a different outcome. These babies did not deserve that. This mother did not deserve that. She was trying to better her life. She's trying. I can't even imagine losing one child, more or less all of my children, to the father of my children. How do you fathom that? So fast forward says when that happens, the protocol dictates that the call is sent out by a tone and it broadcasts to units on duty. He said that happened within the first 5 minutes of the call, but there were no units clear that could respond to the call at that time. And he said, in an ideal world, we would love to have enough field units to be able to assign someone and send them to that call immediately. You guys are well aware that we don't live in an ideal world now. And in discussing the dispatching of the fire department, Fast Forward stated that they were dealing only with the information that they had come in. The call with the mother who said children were screaming and the father had threatened to set the house on fire. And he stated, open quotations, policy is not to send fire just because someone says someone is going to set a fire. If we send fire units to every time somebody says there's going to be a fire, at that point, you're rolling fire units. Code 2, endangering citizens, etc., etc. Close quotations. Fastball said that about 8 minutes after midnight was the first call reporting that an actual fire was taking place. He said that an incident was sent to the fire department within 2 minutes, and the first fire unit arrived less than 5 minutes later. It took somebody to call about the fire. I mean, I kind of get it because there's always these false calls happening, but I mean, the dispatcher heard the kid screaming, the father, the mother. I mean, I don't. Okay. So a police unit wasn't available to respond until 12:15 a.m., which was approximately 20 minutes after the call was received, and officers were arriving on the scene at about 12:20. So about 25 minutes after the initial call, all this took place. He stated that New Orleans Fire Department units were on the scene when police arrived, and 2 of the children had already been pulled from the house and were being given CPR. So Fastball said, open quotations, "I don't believe we dropped any balls here. Call intake and dispatcher center. In retrospect, it's easy to know. Yeah. It would have been great to send..." I'm sorry, excuse me. "It would have been great to send fire as soon as he threatened to set a fire. Nothing we knew at that time pushed it past that point." Close quotations. So Fastball stated that he would keep in contact with the police, fire, and emergency medical services and domestic violence agencies to see if any different policies and responses to different protocols being set could happen. The children, ages 3, 5, and 8, died that Wednesday morning in the fire at their New Orleans home on the 4900 block of America Street, set by their father. A Ring footage camera captured on a neighbor's door showed a man leaving through the front door of the house just as flames started to raise in the back of the house. And he gets into a car and he pulls away. So Joseph Washington fled the scene, and it took them a little while to catch up to him. He was arrested on Interstate 610 just outside the city. The suspected Dodge Charger he used to get away after the fire was found floating in the river that morning, which was Wednesday morning. It was the same morning, so just later in the morning. So McDonald, which is Washington's father and the grandfather of the 3 children, was so upset, and he demanded his son to face justice. McDonald, Joseph Washington's father, stated, open quotations, "If I catch him, I'm gonna kill him." Close quotations. So the father was obviously extremely upset that his son committed these heinous crimes and killed his grandchildren, his pride and joy, his buddies. Like, this is just not something that should happen. The children's mother, who was at work at the time of the fire, is now in a hospital. She's been hospitalized off and on, and she was on suicide watch. I could just about imagine. I mean, you wouldn't want to live without your children. Mother's not supposed to bury their children. A mother is not supposed to bury their children. Court documents that were obtained on October 18th, 2023, revealed that Joseph Washington, the man police say set the fire to the house with his 3 children trapped inside, had a history of abuse. He was taken into custody, and he was charged with 3 counts of second-degree murder, 3 counts of second-degree cruelty to a juvenile, and 1 count of aggravated arson. The victims, Avery, Jayla, and JoJo, were at home with Washington when he allegedly set the house fire just before midnight on that Wednesday. So Washington was at the house while the mother was at work. So, no, they weren't together, but this is something that they would do to, make life sustainable and somebody could watch the kids. So firefighters found 2 children unconscious in the living room near the front door, and they were declared dead later at the hospital. Jayla died inside the home while the boys died at the hospital. So Jayla, like we said, was found in the middle of the house whenever the fire department was still trying to put out the flames. Gretna police confirmed that the vehicle drove away from the scene, turned up floating in the Mississippi River near the Gretna Ferry Terminal. And again, that was the same morning after all the fire was put out and the children were pronounced dead. Troy McDonald, which is Joseph Washington's father, stated that his son was in a hospital now and he tried to run and escape. So police are investigating the fire as a triple homicide after Washington threatened to burn the house down just before it erupted in flames early that Wednesday morning. The children's grandfather was at the house the morning after the fire. He was seen as being distraught and attempting to get a hold of his son because at that point, no one could get a hold of Joseph. So on October 19th, a magistrate commissioner found probable cause for 3 counts of first-degree murder against Washington, who was held in Orleans Justice Center without bond. There was a rule to show cause hearing that was set on March 15th of this year, 2024. He was booked on 3 counts of first-degree murder and second-degree cruelty to a juvenile and arson. He was held on a $2 million bond. He was in the courtroom handcuffed to a wheelchair due to him being injured from jumping off the interstate in an attempt to escape law enforcement. One thing that the district attorney, Jason Williams' office, and all agreed on is that they have not received 2 critical components in the felony screening process: the coroner's report and a supplemental report from the Office of State Fire Marshal Court's documents show. So as of the next Tuesday, which is a week from the incident, the coroner had not identified a cause or manner of death for Jayla Avery or the 8-year-old who died in the triple homicide. Washington allegedly torched the home and left them to burn inside. Magistrate Judge J. Daniels described the crime as heinous and a textbook case of first-degree murder. The reason for the delay is because they are waiting to receive New Orleans Police Department's investigative report before they can complete ours. So it took them several months to get this god-awful human a trial and charge him and sentence him. They wanted to know whether or not the fire is what caused the death of the kids. The girlfriend of Joseph Washington showed up to the crime scene before the media was there looking for Joseph. She was with him the day of his arrest and showed up to court on his behalf. Y'all, we're going to get into some more stuff with her because, no. So, NOP requested the continual assistance and asked them to, the fire department, to assist with analyzing the evidence. But they stated that they haven't received any evidence to begin with. So, the report is incomplete and they couldn't turn it over to the prosecutors at this given time. So, when they were asked about the handling of evidence in the case, the NOPD deferred those questions to the district attorney's office, which did not respond to a request for a comment. What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to hide? So this held up the case, right? So defense attorneys argued in November that NOPD hadn't collected or preserved evidence of what they described as a suicide attempt by Washington soon after the fire was started. The evidence included a bottle of brake cleaner and a glass, which is also known as Calypso, beverage bottle. The court documents and public defender Barksdale Hortenstein wrote that Washington drank brake cleaner. He exited the car and he left from I-610 overpass following a police chase in an attempt to end his life. The NOPD released the car to its owner on November 9th without collecting that evidence. Defense representatives found a brake cleaner and Calypso bottle in a plastic bag in the trunk, which is what Washington's lawyers later led the police to know. So on October 19th, this is when the magistrate commissioner found probable cause for the 3 counts of first-degree murder, and he was continued to be held without bond at the Orleans Justice Center. And a rule to show cause hearing was set for the March 15th. So under Article 701, which I did not know this existed. So under Article 701 of Louisiana's Code of Criminal Procedure, the district attorney must bring formal charges within 120 days for defendants charged with murder and first-degree rape. Otherwise, those defendants may be released without bail. And a deadline under state law for prosecutors to file charges against them, known as the 701 date, had been extended twice. So some officials in the investigation are trying to pass the buck around over the responsibility for this case being held up. Prosecutors and Washington's attorneys agreed on a date of January 22nd, 2024 to extend his 701 date from February 15th to March 1st, 2024. So on February 22nd, they extended it again to April 11th, 2024. So yeah, they kept extending it. So the KIPP Memorial School, where the older children went, issued a statement on behalf of the children's dads, saying the school community is mourning this heartbreaking loss, and it's with their thoughts and deepest condolences to the family during this difficult time. The family and community members and nonprofit Habitat for Humanity are rallying to support the family of 3 killed in a house fire that was set by their father. And because of that, this incident hit the community hard. A vigil was planned on October 20th, which was literally 2 days after this incident. And it was held at the park on America Street. And the community members brought pink and blue balloons. And Ostretcher with the Habitat for Humanity says, "We do hard things every day. This is beyond hard. It is more than we can comprehend. We ask everyone to give what you can, offer prayers for peace and comfort, and together we will move forward." The children's toys and bikes were still on the side of their burned home. Stuffed animals and flowers laid on the neighbor's lawn across the street in the memory of these children as people came from across the city to pay their respects. The vigil was attended by hundreds of people, including council members Eugene Green, Helena Moreno, and Oliver Thomas, as well as the American Red Cross representatives. The vigil was organized by the neighborhood's America Street Committee. So the teddy bears and balloons lied in front of the home where the 3 children were killed. 3 balloons, 2 blue and 1 pink, notice 2 boys and 1 girl, was shown in the breeze that Friday as the grieving mother held their strings tightly before letting go. That mother, she lost her home. She lost all 3 of her children. She lost her sanity, for one. I mean, God knows I would. And she lost everything she owned and was working hard to achieve. Nellie Downs the Road created a fundraiser to help her sister with housing expenses and funeral costs for the 8-year-old, the 5-year-old, and the 3-year-old, which were her nieces and nephews. The children's father, Joseph Washington, again was being held without bond as he was awaiting his trial. Ostretcher, the representative for Habitat for Humanity, said her organization will assist the victim's mother by boarding up the home's charred remains Friday afternoon. Habitat for Humanity will also shoulder the cost of demolition of the house once cleared by the New Orleans Police Department and the family, and they will help her navigate the insurance claim process. Community activist Bruce Alex stated, when children are massacred, when children are slaughtered, it is time for action. Yes, sir, you're correct. The city needs a stronger prevention and safety net to complement the hard work of public safety officials. The city of New Orleans plans to quickly demolish the home on America Street in New Orleans East where the 3 children were brutally murdered by their father. And in fact, neighbors were startled that the demolition crews and notices appeared on scene Friday under emergency order from the city's Code Enforcement Division. Family members were sad to be unaware that such action was planned for that Friday, and calls were made, and someone for the family will be allowed one last trip through the property to see if anything else could be salvageable. So they moved quickly with this. I mean, understandably. I mean, the police department has called for the Public Integrity Bureau investigation into the response around midnight, the office that oversees 911. So they were still going back and forth about action, at how long it took for the 911 and everybody to arrive on scene. And on March 14th, 2024, it was a Thursday, the man accused of setting a fire in this house with his 3 kids was attacked by an inmate. Hell yes. I don't condone all this, but boo, you deserve that. Oh my God, did he deserve it. You don't go to jail harming children and expect to come out without a scratch. I mean, they take that shit serious. So Joseph Washington was taken back to the chambers with his lawyers and doctors, and they re-emerged after about 30 minutes. The competency hearing will evaluate whether or not Washington will be mentally fit for trial. So they were trying to see if he was mentally insane, unstable, whatever the case. Hell, you got to be something for you to kill this and then drink brake cleaner and try to kill yourself by jumping off a bridge. But it stated that a defendant cannot be forced to trial if he doesn't understand the nature of his proceedings against him, or if he's unstable to assist a counsel in his defense. The standard is the same whether it's a misdemeanor or a heinous multi-murder first-degree homicide case like this. It is not a very high bar, but it is a bar that is set by the United States Constitution. So yeah, he deserves that right to see if he's competent to stand trial, but So if Washington was deemed incompetent, the proceedings will be paused. But Judge Campbell ordered his next court appearance to be on April 4, 2024. The doctors are expected to have their reports by that date. So after this appearance, Washington was being taken back to the Orleans Justice Center. This is when he was assaulted by yet another inmate. They say he's being evaluated for injuries. So Washington's girlfriend, the one that was seen with him and with him whenever he got arrested, her name is, I hope I don't butcher this, y'all, Shanyka, Shanyka, Shanyka Phillips, is also facing charges as she was accused of helping him escape after he set that fire. So Phillips is being charged with accessory to first-degree murder and aggravated arson. And according to court documents, she never bonded out of jail. So she was accused of aiding in the flight of Joseph Washington, who burned down the house, killing his 3 children. And she was indicted by a grand jury as accessory after the fact. Phillips was 31. She was booked on that Thursday afternoon, so 2 days after the incident, into the Orleans Justice Center on one count of accessory after the fact to first-degree murder and one count of accessory after the fact to arson. And according to Keith Lampkin, Chief of Operations of the Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office, she chose to meet him, drive to safety, conceal his whereabouts, and obstruct a lawful investigation into these heinous crimes. So, yeah, she's involved. Boo, get your sentence. So, on Joseph Washington was 30 years old, and he was indicted, and multiple witnesses saw that Phillips, aka his girlfriend, was at the fire after it was started and was seen fleeing with Washington. She later picked up Washington up on the West Bank with the knowledge of what he had just done. And that's where Joseph drove a vehicle into the Mississippi River. Police arrested Washington later that day after he fled the vehicle that was driven by Phillips. And an attempt to end his own life, drank the brake cleaner, and then he decided to try to jump off the bridge. Police believe that Phillips was driving. Williams said Phillips was Washington's girlfriend, though he lived with the mother of his children in the house he allegedly burned. So when Washington was finally arrested, Phillips was right there by his side. When New Orleans police arrested Phillips without incident at her home, they stated that this is what it looks like when you trust in God, which was the children's aunt down the road. She also stated that she was praying for Phillips' children. So the girlfriend had children too. She was aware that Joseph just killed his 3 kids, but yeah, you're going to help him flee the scene? What the hell is wrong with you? Where is your mind? Love is not that good. I promise you love is not that good. Where you would choose a man over your children, because that's what she did when she decided to help him. She chose a man over her children. And you chose that man over those other 3 children's lives. Yes, I gotta take a moment because I can't imagine what's going on knowing that their mother helped this man, which would be considered their stepfather, escape after killing his children. All of this is just so discerning. So Gaynell, which is the aunt of all these children that was killed, stated she should have been a better mother who stayed out of this. Amen. Amen. You are 100% correct. If you cared anything about any child, you would. So Gaynell, the victim's grandmother, stated that she prayed, especially after she saw Phillips at a January court hearing for Washington. She thought Phillips needed time to repent. But to her, the indictment was a sign Phillips didn't have, and she wasn't remorseful for her actions. Gaynell stated, open quotations, she didn't feel remorse to be able to be indicted. God would have turned around for her. Close quotations. God, that's a statement in itself. The victim's grandmother praised law enforcement for working on the indictment and promised to fight for her grandchildren's remembrance. Williams, too, Matthew Derby's homicide unit chief at the Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office, and the close partnership between his office and NOPD, thanked them for all their work on what was described as one of the most odious acts that was ever seen. So she stated, I applaud them for doing such a wonderful job. I feel like they feel our pain. Pay attention. I don't want this to just go away. Hell no, this cannot go away. No. So on Thursday, April 4th, 2024, Joseph Washington was ruled competent to stand trial. And so his trial began. Joseph Washington pled guilty, and he was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of obstruction of justice, admitting he killed his children. Avery Washington, 3 years old, Jayla Washington, 5 years old, and Joseph Washington, 8 years old. In exchange, prosecutors agreed not to seek the death penalty against him. I understand that in exchange of his plea, they offered him this plea deal that if he admitted, they would take the death sentence off the board. But this dude needs the freaking death sentence. He killed these beautiful, young, vibrant children. He don't deserve to live and waste tax dollar money. What the hell? No. In statements delivered in court, family members of children's mother lamented the loss of the 3 joyful souls while wishing severe punishment on Washington. Gaynell stated, open quotations, "You're a demon boy." And another aunt told Washington, "Are you ready for hell?" Gaynell stated, "He knew what he was doing to my grandbabies. He didn't have no love. He didn't fool me. He never had no love for the very firstborn. Close quotations. So the sentencing began, and then a woman was seen dashing across the courtroom and ended up beating Joseph Washington to the ground. But before Orleans Parish Criminal District Court Judge Nandy Campbell could sentence Washington, she attacked this man. Hey, praise to her, because I mean, how are you feeling? Like, praise to you for standing up, because this man is horrible. So it ended up that Judge Nandy Campbell sentenced mandatory life in prison. So the attack was a family member of the slain children, and she ran across the room, punching him until he fell to the ground. Angel Donsero, the children's aunt, that's who attacked him. She reached, shackled Joseph Washington, and struck him in the face with her fist over and over and over and over again until he fell to the ground. And then she pounded on his body. The brawl eventually spilled from the defense table into the court's pews, and at one point, it toppled the bench as Campbell screamed for order. Afterward, witnesses stated that they feared the worst. Some claimed they were convinced that Donsero had stabbed Washington with a set of keys. Others thought they heard a gunshot amid the clatter of furniture falling on the courtroom's wooden floors. No weapons were used or recovered during that attack. Other family members joined in. Deputies spent members untangling the bodies that had piled up on top of Washington. So everybody was coming in and attacking him. Her adlers interrupted the judge as she attempted to sentence Joseph Washington to mandatory life in prison. It also incited a skirmish that would come to involve family members, attorneys, court staff, law enforcement. She had a reaction. Who wouldn't? We're human. You're damn right. We are human. Yeah, she would have a freaking reaction. I would have the same damn reaction if that was me. Yeah. I mean, what you got to lose? You done lost everything. You lost all your children. You lost your home. You lost all your belongings. What the hell you got to lose? No one was seriously injured, and deputies and a New Orleans police officer moved into the scene to get it under control. They placed her in handcuffs, and they whisked all the other family members from the courtroom. Once it was clear of the commotion, that's whenever Campbell briskly sentenced Washington, who also pleaded guilty as charged to one count of obstruction of justice. In exchange for his plea, they took that death sentence off the table. So after the instigating family member was taken into custody and the remaining family members removed from courtroom, is whenever she laid down that law, mandatory life in prison. So Donsero was booked into the city's jail on municipal counts of battery and disturbing the peace. Williams stated at a news conference after the hearing as he stood beside Matthew Derby's chief of homicide unit for the district attorney's office, who accepted Washington's plea on behalf of the agency's, open quotations, "This was an act of pure evil. The decision to move on and accept this plea was made with the explicit goal of sparing this family the further trauma from reliving the gruesome details of their little loved ones." Close quotations. So separately, Shanika Phillips, aka the girlfriend of Joseph Washington, is charged again with being accessory after the fact for allegedly aiding Washington in his attempts to flee and hide from law enforcement after he set that fire. She has pleaded not guilty, and she's being held in New Orleans jail without bond. So there's a GoFundMe page. Obviously, this family deserves it. This family needs it. Again, this is still going on, 2024. Joseph was sentenced to life in prison without the death sentence, and Phillips is still awaiting her sentencing. This GoFundMe page was put together by the sister of the children's mother, and it states, "My Three Angels. October 18th, 2023 changed our lives forever. Hello, my name is Nellie, the aunt of the 3 babies who were killed in a house fire by their own dad. No mother is ever prepared for this tragedy. We are starting this GoFundMe to help my family lay our angels down to rest. Please find it in your hearts to help us. Any donations are appreciated. We appreciate the love and prayers. Please continue to pray, pray, pray. And then she went along and stated, my sister was involved in a domestic violence relationship that resulted in the death of her 3 children. The 3 children were murdered by their biological father. Everything my sister owned was lost in the house fire. Please donate to help lay my niece and nephews to rest and to help my sister start a new beginning, which was WGNO, the organizer. So there was 1.2 thousand donations at this given time with a $100,000 goal. And so far, they raised $60,403. There's still no amount of money that could put a price on them babies or the hurt that this mother has to go through. If you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, there are resources both nationally and locally to help. Call the New Orleans Family Justice Center at 504-866-9554 for a 24-hour hotline with free services ranging from domestic violence to sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking, and child abuse. The National Domestic Violence Hotline can be reached at 1-800-799-7233. And for more information, you could also visit the Victim Connect Resource Center at victimconnect.org or call them at 1-855-484-2846. If you enjoyed our show, I don't know how you can enjoy this. I mean, I'm getting this information out there because these people still need help. They're still mourning the loss of these beautiful babies who are joy and full of life. Very happy, joyous children, smiles on their faces. They didn't deserve this. They did not deserve this. I hope and pray every single day he has terrors. The worst feelings in the world. Like, he should have got the death penalty. These babies don't deserve this. I will link all of this information on who you can contact, phone numbers and websites in the show notes. If y'all need any further information, please feel free to contact me. Again, if you enjoyed our show, please rate and review us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Wondery, wherever you listen to your podcast. And be sure to come back at the end of this week for another episode. And until then, this is your host, Sarah Soudier. Don't forget to like, share, follow, or subscribe to Criminalist Behavior, a Louisiana true crime podcast. Y'all, please donate whatever you can to that GoFundMe account. I know I will as soon as I get the chance. These babies deserve the best, and their mother deserves it. I will also post the video of these beautiful children, and they're always seen happy with a beautiful smile on their face, and the brutal crime scene photos. Like, this is just very, very horrible. So I really, really hope that y'all enjoy this, and please reach out to someone. Anybody could help you. I swear, like, you can reach out to me. I will do my damnness to help you in any given situation. Get you the resources you may need, whatever it is. If y'all have any questions, concerns, y'all can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, social media. You can also email me at criminalbehaviorpodcast@gmail.com. We also have the website. Again, will be linked in the show notes. I also have all my little links that are attached to this podcast linked in the show notes as well, so you can just click and go ahead. Again, anywhere that you listen to us, it's going to be in the show notes. Thank y'all, and I hope y'all enjoy y'all day.